The Homeland Security Secretary has added a new, politically explosive layer to Washington, D.C. National Guard shooting. Kristi Noem says the Afghan-born suspect, Rahmanullah Lakanwal, was radicalized in the United States. Not in Kabul, not in Kandahar, but right here, after he arrived through a U.S. resettlement program. Noem dropped the claim on NBC's Meet the Press, calling it an early assessment, but one backed by initial interviews. Noem said investigators believe Lakanwal was in contact with connections in his home community and state, people who may have played a role in shaping his motives before he allegedly ambushed National Guard members just blocks from the White House. And that single word, radicalized, has detonated an entire political fight over immigration, vetting, and the legacy of the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Lakanwal came to America in 2021 during the Biden administration under Operation Allies Welcome, the program for Afghans who worked with U.S. forces and were at risk after the fall of Kabul. According to officials, he was among the most extensively vetted individuals brought in during that period. He served alongside U.S. troops. He cleared multiple security checks. And just this April, under the Trump administration, he was granted asylum. But Noem says the process fell apart because of the Biden administration's hasty withdrawal, arguing that without a stable Afghan government, the U.S. couldn't reliably verify backgrounds, biometrics, or service records. The Justice Department says Lakanwal will be charged with first-degree murder. 20-year-old National Guard member Sarah Beckstrom died from her injuries last week. Her colleague, Andrew Wolfe, is still hospitalized. The Trump administration has moved even faster on the political response. President Trump declared he would permanently pause migration from what he called third world countries, linking the shooting directly to the need for new immigration freezes and tougher vetting protocols. Days later, the head of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services halted all asylum approvals nationwide, saying officers must ensure that every alien is vetted to the maximum degree possible.
My great fellow Americans, earlier today, on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, 2 members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C. were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan. We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice if the bullets going in the opposite direction haven't already done that. During this time of the year, when we gather at home with loved ones, these two patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that is exactly what they were doing when they were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every member of the United States military who is deployed tonight at home and abroad. I also want to thank the Secret Service and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department for their work today. This Thanksgiving, I ask every family to say a prayer for the two great heroes who were so horribly shot, and for their loved ones. Please say a prayer. May God bless them and comfort them, and may God bless and protect the United States of America.
Attorney General Pam Bondi echoed that message, blaming the Biden administration for minimal to little vetting and a backlog of more than 1.5 million asylum applications, though so far no evidence has been presented that this suspect was improperly screened. Federal officials maintain he underwent multiple layers of checks both before arriving in 2021 and again before receiving asylum. Democrats say this is turning into political theater. Senator Mark Kelly called the attack horrific, but accused Trump officials of blaming Biden for everything, even though, he pointed out, some vetting clearly did happen during the previous administration. Kelly also warned that mass crackdowns don't make the country safer, they break up communities rather than target criminals. Kristi Noem, however, says the rules are already changing. She confirmed that asylum processing will only resume after every pending applicant is vetted again under new Trump-era standards, and that deportations are on the table for anyone who, under those standards, should not be in the country. This turns one shooting near the White House into a national flashpoint, raising questions about who failed, how radicalization unfolds inside U.S. borders, and whether America's promise to Afghan allies is now colliding head-on with a return to hardline immigration policy. As Lakanwal awaits formal charges and investigators probe his alleged contacts, the political fallout is already rewriting the country's asylum system, one case at a time.